biblical and Greek mythology is that a man was created first, then a woman, and then the first man and the first woman mated and reproduced. Han Chinese mythology is completely different, in that man, woman, and thus the entire human race were created at almost the same time. Follow me and subscribe to my channel. Listen to me talk about the Arnaud Will's monumental work, Ideas and Myths. Together we explore the metaphors in Han Chinese mythology. Nuwa is the Nuwa clan, also known as Nuwa Emperor and Nihi clan, and commonly known as Nuwa Niang. The image of Nuwa is that of a human head with a snake's body. Guopu was a native of Wuxi County, Hedong Shire, now part of Shanxi Province, China. He was the son of Guo Yuan, a governor of Jianping, Heijin dynasty. In the year of his birth, the Roman Emperor Claudius Tacitus was killed by his own troops, and his half-brother, the prefect of the Praetorian Guard, Marcus Annius Florianus, took the throne. He was even worse, killed by his own army after only 88 days on the throne. In the year of Guopu's death, Constantine the Great of ancient Rome routed Licinius, became sole ruler of the Roman Empire, and declared Christianity the only official religion of the Roman Empire. The Shan Haijing is an ancient book from the pre-Qin era, the author of which is unknown. The book records the geography of mountains and rivers, rare and exotic museums, and folklore, which records.
There were 10 gods, called the intestines of the goddess of Nuwa, who were transformed into gods. And they were in the wilds of Suquang, lying across the road.
Guopu was a famous scholar of the Jin dynasty, both as a literary and exegetical scholar and as a master of alchemy. In his commentary on this passage, he writes that Nuwa has the head of a human being and the body of a snake, and can change in 70 ways in one day.
Nuwa, an ancient goddess and emperor, with a human face and a snake body, changed 70 times in one day, and her intestines were transformed into this god. Suquang, place name.
The Suquang in the text, some scholars testify that it was in Fenglingdui, south of present-day Yangji City, Shanxi Province. There are different versions of the legend that Nuwa created human. The dominant version is that Nuwa made human out of clay, and when she got too tired, she dipped a rope in muddy water and threw out the muddy dots that also became people. Those who were carefully pinched became nobles, and those who were flung out by the rope became lowly people. In Han Chinese mythology, there is no distinction between men and women. They are all created at the same time. Therefore, according to the mythological point of view, there is only a distinction between noble and lowly Chinese people, and men and women are equal. After all, Nuwa is a woman. Ying Shao, character Zhang Yuan, was a native of Nantan, present-day Shanxing, Henan Province, China, Runan, in the Eastern Han Dynasty. He lived, probably at the end of the era of the 5 wise emperors of ancient Rome, to Lucius Septimius Severus period. Ying Shao authored the General Principles of Custom, which was originally 30 volumes in length, with 1 volume of appendices, of which only 10 survive today. He wrote,
It is said that when heaven and earth were in its infancy, there were no people, and Nuwa rolled the clay to make human. And when she could not afford to do so, she cited a straw rope in the mud and lifted it to make human. Therefore, the rich and powerful are the people of loess. The poor and mediocre are the people who are thrown out of the straw rope.
Huananzi was written before 139 BC. It was written by Yuan, the king of Huainan in the Western Han Dynasty, and the scholars under him. He is a prince of Western Han Dynasty. The original name of the book is Han Lai, which means big and bright. The book probably corresponds to the Jewish name Simon Thassi. Gained semi-independence from the Greek Seleucid Empire, and ruled over Jerusalem, and became the first prince of the Hebrew Hasmonean dynasty. The record of Huananzi should be closer to the earlier legend. According to his account, Nuwa created the human form, and the Yellow Emperor helped to give birth to Yin and Yang, which means men and women. The book states,
The Yellow Emperor produces Yin and Yang. Shangpian helped to give birth to ears and eyes. And Sanglin helped to give birth to limbs. Nuwa made 70 improvements before she created mankind.
This narrative is somewhat similar to Greek mythology in that man is the result of the cooperation of multiple gods. Nuwa also created the institution of marriage in order that mankind itself could reproduce indefinitely, becoming the god of marriage in later times. Ying Shao writes in his book General Principles of Custom.
Nuwa prayed to the shrine to be the matchmaker for the marriage.
In order to avoid the problem of hereditary diseases that might be caused by marriage between close relatives, Nuwa created the family name, thus providing for a system of no intermarriage between people with the same family name. Luomi was born in Luling, Jizu in the Southern Song dynasty. He was the author of 47 volumes of the history book called the Lushi. The year after his birth, Grand Duke Mstislav I Vladimirovich Monomakh died, and his brother Yarapok II Vladimirovich assumed the throne and proclaimed himself Grand Prince of Kiev, which marked the beginning of the Grand Duchy of Kiev. A year before Luomi's death, Alfonso Ix became King of Leon, and Alfonso Ix convened the first parliamentary assembly in the history of the Kingdom of Leon in 1188, which included nobles, city dwellers, craftsmen, and other people of all classes. In 1215, he also issued a royal decree authorizing the migration of serfs, who could be freed from their masters. His reign lasted from 1188 to 1230. Luomi records in the book.
When Nuwa was young, she assisted Tai Hao and prayed to the gods to let women marry. Created their family names, ruled marriages, and set up an intermediary system to fulfill the expectations of all the people, which was called divine matchmaking.
However, in ancient Chinese mythology, both Fuxi and Nuwa were human-headed and snake-bodied. Legend has it that Fuxi was born in Qingji, Longxi, present-day Dianshui City, Gansu Province, China. Fuxi is said to have been the younger brother of Nuwa, and the two were married, thus being called the dragon ancestor by later generations. However, these records began to appear only after the Warring States period. Let's look at the Shangpian and Sang line, who helped Nuwa create man. As described in the previous Huananzi, these gods do not appear in any other canonical texts, and it is not known what their origins are. Gao Yu was a scholar of the late Eastern Han Dynasty in China, who wrote a commentary on the Huananzi, a commentary on the Lushi Chenchu, and a commentary on the Zhanguocha. He wrote his books around the time of the Roman Emperor Commodus during his reign. Gao Yu records in the book.
Sanglin is the forest of the Sangshan mountain, capable of producing clouds and rain.
Rain and clouds. This term, in ancient Chinese texts, has long represented lovemaking. The original meaning of the word pian is two horses riding together. Qiyuan, surnamed Mi, was a native of Danyang in the state of Chu during the spring and autumn period. Qiyuan lived around the time of Alexander the Great, until the period when Ptolemy Ceraunus, king of the Kingdom of Macedonia, was slain in a war with the Gauls. Qiyuan claimed to be a descendant of the Gaoyang clan, one of the 5 ancient emperors. In his poem Tianwen, he sang the praises of Great Yu's success in curing the water and gained the love of a beautiful woman from Tushan, who had intercourse on the platform in the Sang line.
Great Yu did his best to accomplish his holy work, and descended to see the 4 directions of the world. How to get the love of the daughter of Tushan, and have sex with her on the platform in the Sanglin?
It seems that the Sang line, the forest of the Sangshan mountain, is the place where men and women make love and have intercourse. When gods or men mingle here, clouds and rain are produced, rain and cloud. And we already know that the serpent itself is a representation of a man's knob, a totem of the ancient fertility cult. 2 gods mating to create human is more in line with early human understanding of the birth of life. The Tang dynasty's Li Kan wrote the Duyiji, which was written around the period from Emperor Xuanzong of the Tang dynasty to the first year of Qianfu of Emperor Shizong. During this period, Arab pirates raided Rome and plundered the outskirts of the city. until the period when the Viking Ingolfur Arnarsson and his wife, Halvaig, and his brother, Hjörleifur Hramarsson and others, came to Iceland. The Dúzes stories are collected in 427 stories of strange men and women. Records since the beginning of the world until the present day, that is, the world of the unique. Li Kang writes in the Dúzes.
In the past, when the universe was in its infancy, there were only two siblings, Nuwa and Fuxi, in the Kunlun Mountains. And there were no people in the world. The two of them talked about getting married and felt ashamed. So they climbed up the Kunlun mountain and Fuxi said, "If heaven sends us to be husband and wife, then the smoke will be combined. If heaven does not allow it, then the smoke will naturally drift away. As a result, the smoke that is close." Then the sister Nuwa catered to her brother's sexual desires by making a fan out of grass and blocking her face to hide her shame. Nowadays, it has become a trend for women to hold fans, as has happened before.
This kind of brother-sister procreation appears in the myths of many peoples of the world. So in the case of Han Chinese myths, was it Nuwa who created man from the clay, or was it a brother or sister who created man? Historically speaking, the legend of the birth of a human being did not appear until much later in the central plains of China. Modern scholar Xu Zixing was an archaeologist and historian. He was born at a time of great cultural collision between East and West. On September 26, 1888, Emperor Hemingway of the Nguyen dynasty of Vietnam was captured in the jungles of the Quang Tri province by the government of French Indochina. And on November 22, he was exiled to Algeria. On December 17 of the same year, the Qing dynasty's Biang Naval Division was formally established on the island of Liugang Island in Weihaiwei, Shandong Province. And on the same day, the charter of the Biang Navy was promulgated. Xu Zixing's death came on the eve of the great changes in China. On January 8, Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai died. On July 6, Zhu De, a member of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee, and chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, died. On July 28, a massive earthquake struck China's Tangshan, killing between 242,769 and 655,237 people, and seriously injuring 164,851. On September 9, Mao Zedong, the chairman of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee and chairman of the Central Military Commission, died in Beijing after a long illness. On October 6, the Huiran Hall incident occurred. In the Gang of Four, led by Mao Zedong's widow Jianqing, Wen Hongwen, Jian Shao, and Yao Wenyuan, were arrested and subjected to quarantine review, marking the end of the Cultural Revolution. This was the year the United States celebrated 200 years of nationhood and Vietnam completed its reunification. Xu Zixing's main publications include The Age of Legends and Ancient Chinese History. Xu Zixing discusses the history of ancient China, wrote,
Lu Xiyun's detailed history of Dongxi in the early Qing dynasty said, "The priests of the Hmong people during the waxing moon are called a Bao Chao festive. The sorcerer of the sacrifice, Set Nuwa, Fuxi bit." Modern anthropologists have only gotten some Hmong legends through field research. According to their legends, the Hmong originated from Fuxi and Nuwa. They were originally brother and sister, but when they were flooded, the population was cut off and only these two people remained. They became a couple and continued the human race.
Here said Lucian for the Qing dynasty Kangxi reign. He was a government student and was authorized to be a state magistrate. He was probably the same time as Charles II period. In the central plains of ancient China, there were two main clans, the Han and the Hmong. The Yan Emperor was a legendary ancient Chinese ruler in pre-dynastic times. Is also known as the Red Emperor, the age of earlier than the Yellow Emperor. Xiyu was the leader of the Nine Li, also known as Li, tribe, a branch of the Zhang tribe of the Yan Emperor. Ying Shao writes in his book,
The descendants of the Xuanxu were called Li, and were the Hmong people.
Li, that is the Hmong. Hmong people have long honored Qiu as its ancestor, known as Ugand, maple god. Of course, some of the archaeological evidence found today does not support a contemporary relationship between the Hmong and 9 Li tribes. 9 Li tribes, as a Hmong people recorded in ancient history, should have been extinct, and has no relationship with the Hmong people surviving in China today. Of course, it cannot be ruled out that 9 Li tribes is a unified name for many ethnic minorities in the southern part of the country scattered southward from the Central Plains. It was the collective name given to the southern tribes by the Yellow Emperor during his conquest of the south. The Yi, Jiao, Zhuang, Bai, Hani, Lisu, Lahu, and Wat tribes in present-day China all have myths and legends similar or comparable to those of the Hmong. In the ancient legends before the Eastern Han Dynasty, Nuwa, Yan Emperor, and Fuxi were the leaders of different tribes. There was no such thing as a sister and brother creating a human being. Thus, it seems that Nuwa's creation of man from the earth should have come before. In the later Han Chinese myths, the myths of other tribes were absorbed, forming the legend of Nuwa and Fuxi's brother and sister mating in the clouds and rain to create man. But there has always been a logical obstacle to the creation of man by brother and sister. If brother and sister are gods, then why aren't the offspring gods? If brother and sister are human beings, then who made them? In many Chinese folk myths, Nuwa and Fuxi were the 2 survivors of the Great Flood, and the 2 mated in order to continue the human race, an explanation that is not problematic. But how the first generation of people was created is an open question. Japanese mythology is very unique in that there is neither a creation myth nor a legend of the creation of human, as if everything came naturally, a narrative that we will also leave for later. Let's answer the more important question first. Why did God create man? Follow me and subscribe to my channel. Together we read Arnold's monumental work, Ideas and Myths, and we explore why did God create man.